All right, what's good? So I qualified for DreamHack. Um, I made it to the top 16, and then I'm just going to be showing you guys some of my best matches. Also, the duels match I had to play against probably one of the best players in the world. So yeah, enjoy. All right, so I didn't record these games live. I was kind of like on a so how it works is there's like a 1 hour tournament, and you have to win as many games as you can. But you only get like 5 losses, I think. So I ended up going 14-1 in that hour, which is kind of insane. Like I only lost one match. And the only match I lost was like I lost in the first 30 seconds. It was just a bad mistake or something against RG. But anyways, there were so many close matches. I'm just going to be showing you guys some of the tougher matchups that I faced and like how I played against them. These are all good players, by the way. I'm not showing like the first couple matches. This is like at 7 or 8 wins already, decently far into the tournament. So this guy's playing Royal Hogs Earthquake. Deck kind of isn't very meta anymore, and I don't know how I feel about it because I kind of enjoy playing against this deck. Not really sure why, but you kind of have to. It's like a different playstyle every single time you verse it. But anyways, this guy is, I would say he's really aggressive, as you guys are going to see. Anyways, the main game plan, like as soon as I figured out what he was running, is just to be aggressive in single when he doesn't have his pigs in cycle, as you see I'm doing here. And I'm like, okay, so at this point, he's going to go pigs. I know he doesn't have enough for Earthquake, so I just go Skeletons right away, and we end up forcing out a Fire Spirit from him, and I think we get a little bit of a connection too. Yeah, so we get that like 200-300 damage, and I'm like, alright, he has no Skeletons or Fire Spirit in cycle, so I just drop the Ice Wizard at the bridge. We force out a cannon from him, so right now I'm controlling the game. Looking really good. As you can see, I'm up to Elixir. I kind of have that idea in my head. I'm not like exactly sure how much I'm up, but I also know he's still 1 card away from Royal Hogs. So I just go ahead and go in with an Expo once I hit 10 here. And then I support it with the Knight right away because I know he has Queen in cycle. He goes Skellies, which was smart, and then he just drops the pigs off and goes Earthquake to counter the Expo. So it was good defense by him. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to get the pigs back in time, but the Skeletons bought him enough time to get to it. So yeah, that was a good play. Anyways, we're going into double even, which is so good for me right here. You don't want to go down early on in the match against this deck because it's very hard to come back. So getting a start like this, I was definitely pretty happy. He gets a little bit of damage here with these Royal Hogs, but we defended decently well. I don't think he even goes for the Queen ability here. Yeah, he doesn't. So right here, I probably should have went Expo in the left lane, like looking back at this. But I ended up not. I ended up going in the right. And if I would have got that Skeleton with that NATO, I could have got a connection on tower. But he gets the Archer Queen and the Fire Spirit down in time, unfortunately for me. And then he goes ahead and pops the ability here. I have to burn a Knight, or not a Knight, an Ice Wizard on top of that Queen. And then he's going to go in with a set of pigs. I know he's going to cannon. Anytime they do that, you can just tell they're about to cannon. I don't know. It's so obvious to me. But yeah, we go for an Ice Wizard to prevent all damage here. And then he goes for the Earthquake. At this point, I'm like, all right, so he just wasted Earthquake on basically nothing. All that's going to survive anyways, so I'll just go for a defensive Expo in the other corner. This Expo actually helps a ton because if they just continue to cycle Earthquakes on your tower, then you can just cycle back to another Expo and go in as soon as they cycle their Earthquake on the left. So we'll go ahead and go Skeletons to keep that Expo HP alive. I know he's going to pop the Queen ability, so we get a nice NATO there, and then we also go for a Knight right on top of this Queen to prevent all those hits right there, and we just drop an Ice Wizard in the back. He goes super aggressive here with Royal Hogs, and I'm like, wow, he just dropped Royal Hogs into a Knight and an Ice Wizard, which is kind of crazy to think about. So I just go for a Rocket here, since he goes for an Earthquake as well, and I log these pigs as well because I don't want to take any unnecessary damage. The key to this matchup is pretty much just trying to take as little damage as possible while rocket cycling and being aggressive with your Expos if they overcommit. So I NATO everything back right here. NATO log plus Ice Wiz is actually insane against Royal Hogs. So we don't even need the Tesla or the rocket to counter the pigs that time, which is very good. He goes for a delivery. I know he's going to try and snipe this once again, so I just go ahead and protect it. It's so obvious, like every single person is the same. So I just go for a rocket on the tower. Nice log there, clipping 3 pigs and the Queen. And then he Earthquakes. Once again, I keep putting the Tesla out of Earthquake position because, you know, I don't want him to get that value. And when he Earthquakes my tower, it doesn't really matter because it doesn't do as much as it used to. Earthquake used to be OP with the damage it did, but now it's kind of more balanced, I'd say. So I go for a Tesla up here. There's 20 seconds left. I'm just going to continue to hit tower every single time with this log, making sure I hit the pigs as well. And at this point, I know he's got one more set of pigs in him, so I go for a Knight low. go ahead and NATO this Archer Queen back, and then just set up a Tesla. 8 seconds is enough time to, like, plenty of time for that Tesla to stall out enough, and I just go for the rocket, and we take the win there against a pretty, you have to play that matchup perfectly, or you can lose very, very easily. But yeah, we ended up pulling that one off. At this point, I was like, okay, frick, I can maybe qualify. But yeah, gonna show a Golem matchup next. Okay, so going up against Golem, Pump, E-Drag, Lumberjack, like all those, you guys know the deck. This deck is pretty, it's a pretty interesting matchup, honestly. It all depends on kind of the flow of the game, especially in single elixir, and if I can get control of it. So right here, he kind of starting hands me. I don't have my Knight in cycle or Log or anything to kill that Dark Prince, so I kind of panic here and go for an Ice Wiz because I wasn't sure if that Dark Prince would connect. And obviously I don't want to be taking that damage this early on in the game. So I just go ahead and cycle to a Knight. We finally have it in cycle, so I just use it to defend this Lumberjack. And yeah, so basically I'm going to be rocketing his pumps every single time he places them. Especially in the first couple minutes. Like later on in the game, sometimes you kind of just have to ignore a pump, and you'll see how I play it, but there's definitely points where you have to ignore a pump and just try and get an expo connection or get a little bit of damage with your expo, because if you get stuck defending the entire game, then you are going to lose eventually against this deck. So it is actually a little bit more difficult to play against than you might think just by looking at the deck. It's actually pretty hard to defend. So I go for Skeletons, but he goes for a pretty well-timed NATO right there to pull in the Ice Wiz, so decent play by him. I think at this point we're almost at the end of the tournament, so the players are actually very good. Every match is very close. Like there's no easy wins at this point in the tournament. So I just go for a Tesla up high. I know he's playing Golem, but I'm fine with using my Tesla because I know I can get back to another one by the time he goes in, if he were to go in, I mean. So I just NATO everything back right here. Phoenix dies unfortunately on that side of the bridge, so I'm like, ah man, I gotta burn this Ice Wiz, which is not optimal. He does waste a Barbell though, so I was kind of like confused as to why he did that. Maybe he thought I was gonna go Skeletons or something. But anyways, right here I just logged this Dark Prince. He puts down another pump, I believe. Yeah, he does. So we just go ahead and rocket this one too. This is definitely not the time to ignore the pump, at least not yet. So I just go for Skeletons. He's gonna go Golem. Which is a good play because he was up like 2 or 3 elixir, and at this point I'm like, all right, I know he has E-Drag, but I can get some good expo damage here if I just go expo the river, and I can also force out the E-Dragon, so I won't have to deal with it later on. So I just go ahead and put down that expo, go for, I believe, a Tesla in the middle, yeah, and then we just kind of play. This is how you have to play defense. You have to play very, very close to your tower. At this point I'm like, all right, I gotta save this Ice Wiz, so I pull everything off with the NATO, and then this defense actually goes really, really well. He goes for another pump, and this is the scenario I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm probably not going to be able to rocket pump every single time. So I'm just going to go for an expo, try and get a couple hundred damage, and then set up on defense for the rest of this game, which is a ballsy call. Like, as soon as you do this, you can never go offensive expo again. You've got to sit back, and you have to defend. So basically the rest of this game, I'm going to be defending for my life, like it depends on it. So going to go Knight in the back. I believe he just goes in right here and doesn't pump up again. I could be wrong. Yeah, he's just going to spam the bridge with like a whole bunch of stuff. So you guys know me. I love a good rocket NATO. He drops an E-Drag and I'm like, all right, perfect time. Let's go for it. So I drop the rocket NATO off, hit all of this. But unfortunately, nothing locks on the Phoenix Egg. And I'm like, what? How did nothing target the Phoenix Egg out of that whole situation? But anyways, I'm forced to go for a Knight to kite this opposite lane, and at this point I'm like, okay, he's got 2 pumps, he's goleming the back. This could be an issue. So I just set up a defensive expo early here. He's not even concerned about that left lane at all. He's just gonna go all in on this right side. So we go for the log early. It's very important that you knock off the Dark Prince shield against this deck, because if you go for a rocket NATO and you only hit the shield of the Dark Prince, you are screwed. So go for another rocket NATO here. Kind of have no choice. Like, there's no way I'm defending that push without a rocket, right? So 45 seconds left. At this point I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta defend 1, maybe 2 more golems to close this out. So it gets very, very sweaty here at the end. Go for a log on top of this Dark Prince. Just like always, like I said, knocking the shield off is very, very important. Gonna go with the Knight to kill this left side, which was actually ended up working pretty well. I'm like, all right, let's just rocket this left side because I don't want to deal with the E-Dragon. Like, that was my thought process right here. But 20 seconds left, and I'm like, oh my gosh, wait a second. I have no elixir. So I go for a log early here. Skeletons to protect, and then NATO everything off. 10 seconds left. I'm like, okay, I just got to hold on for freaking dear life. And we end up doing that. It does get a little scary here at the end, but we get a Tesla down in the middle. That basically secures the win. A few more seconds, and I might have been in trouble. But I'd say that was pretty much flawlessly played. We barely take any damage on our tower. And like I said, those little chippy expo blocks are pretty much what win you this matchup. So after qualifying for the top 16, you get put in basically a bracket where you have to win 2 duel matches to qualify for the actual like event. So anyway, we're going up against Pandora here, who literally just won the monthly, or I think he got second, I don't really know, got second in the monthly finals. And look at that, that was already mistake number 1 by me. He goes Bandit on that side. I don't know if you guys saw my cycle, but I definitely should have just snowballed right there and then went for Goblins to counter the Wall Breaker and the Bandit, but I waste a Monk, which, you know, it's not like I played bad in this match, but there was definitely a few mistakes that I am pissed at myself that I made, and I could have cleaned up. I just really, I don't know, I didn't play quite as good as I know I can, which is frustrating. Nice catch on the miner there, and we go for Bomb Tower to just clean the rest of this up. So that was a decent defense. The problem in this matchup specifically, the Prince just absolutely wrecks me. There's nothing I can really do if he goes Mega Knight one lane and Prince the opposite, since I only have 1 Monk. And that's why I think this deck is usually better with Giant Skeleton, but I did keep the Monk version. Just, I don't know why. I just had a feeling that Monk would be better. Definitely not the right decision in this best of 3, but anyways, I'm like, okay, so I just use my Monk. He knows that I have absolutely nothing else to tank, and he just goes ahead and drops the Mega Knight off. At this point, I'm like, what the frick do I do? So I go for a nicely timed Bomb Tower, but like, this is the problem. The Prince dashes onto the Bomb Tower right here, and then my Musketeer is just dying to the miner because I can't use the Goblins to protect it because he has arrows. So he gets my tower down to 1200 just like that from 1 Mega Knight Prince push. That's part of why, like, definitely not the cleanest defense I've ever played, but that's part of why Mega Knight Prince is like super broken, especially in competitive. So I'm like, okay, I need to get a Hog Rider down at some point here. So we gotta go ahead and just drop it on the right side. I would like to play opposite lane of him if I can, but it's like, I don't know. This is mistake number 2, I think. I should have just let this Bandit connect to my tower, but I burned Goblins, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it's pretty much very hard to break through in this matchup for me, because think about it. If I go just throw a Hog down, he's going to get a counter push every single time from either his Mega Knight or his Bandit or his Prince, and those 3 things are pretty difficult for me to defend. I don't have enough stuff to defend them all, and I can't protect my Musketeers very well either when he has all this spam on the board. So yeah, it's just kind of like a lose-lose situation. Anyways, he goes for another Bandit in the back, and look at my cycle. Like, I'm forced to go Musketeer, and then he just drops Mega Knight off in the other lane. I'm like, okay, this is great. All he has to keep doing the entire match is play his Prince in the opposite lane, and then I'm kind of screwed. So I just set up a Bomb Tower here. The second I put this Monk down, I'm screwed on the other side. It's so frustrating, but there's nothing I can really do about it. I go for the ability and then the Snowball right there. Unfortunately, I played the Bomb Tower too low. That was a mistake on my part. I didn't even think about it. But the Bomb Tower was already placed, so I couldn't like go back and change it. And as you guys see, there's like nothing I can do. Prince just keeps freaking charging onto everything I have. I actually activate King Tower nicely there, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, this game definitely didn't go how we wanted it. But you know, it's only game 1 of the duel. Definitely still have a chance to win. I go ahead and pick Mega Knight for the second game, which I now regret. But, you know, sometimes you just get a little bit unlucky with the selections. He goes for a Hog Rider. Like, I definitely did not play as good as I wanted to play. Like, I could have played way better, but the matchups were pretty difficult for me overall. So Miner, or Hog, what am I trying to say? Hog Mortar with Musketeer is like a matchup you do not want to see when you're running this deck, especially with Mighty Miner, because I don't have any reset. So as soon as I saw the Musketeer, the Mortar, and the Hog, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be a long day. The one good thing I have in this matchup is the Firecracker, because he doesn't have like arrows or something easy to take care of it. So Firecracker does get a little bit of value. I go ahead and go Miner here just to pressure. He activates the King Tower right off rip, which is like, ugh. That's the one. That's the problem with the Firecracker. You're gonna give up the King Tower activation like 9 times out of 10 when you play it. But at this point, I'm like, okay, so no Mighty Miner and Cycle. I could go with like a Mega Knight to bridge, but I before I can do anything, he pops that Mighty Miner ability. So I just split Wall Breakers here. I believe he just Musketeers, yeah. And then I'd cycle a Prince in the back. The problem, again, here is that he has guards for the Prince, which are way, way better for the Prince than the Goblins are in that last matchup, for me, because they actually DPS it down. Goblins just kind of get wrecked. And I know I have arrows, but it's kind of, if you don't predict the arrows, then you're not going to get any, like, the Prince is still going to die too quickly for you to do anything. So we get another Miner on tower here. At this point, I'm like, okay. So I go ahead and split archers and go for a bandit on top of this hog. The reason I split the archers is to defend both lanes right there. And then this Mighty Miner, I think I pull it back with wall breakers. Yeah, we do it. And doesn't end up getting a connection, unfortunately. But I just go for another Prince in the back. He goes for a defensive mortar, and at this point, I probably should have just Mega Knighted the back, but I go for an aggressive Mega Knight, missed the Musketeer, and then he just goes for a freaking Hog Rider at the river. And as you guys can see, the guards just make it so the Prince doesn't charge, the Mega Knight doesn't jump, and it's like, bruh, it's just a long day, honestly. So he goes for a mortar in the middle to kite the wall breakers. Nothing I can really do about that. Bandit to kill this Musketeer. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't kill the Musketeer because he has the guards. The most annoying card ever. So at this point, I'm like, okay, if I don't hit a prediction arrow or something, this game is over. There's no way I can win this. These Musketeers are giving me like a bunch of problems. So I just keep the pressure on with another wall breakers. We don't hit the arrows there, unfortunately. I was going for the guards in the middle, but he just played a mortar instead. So yeah, this is kind of at this point, I'm like, all right, there's just no chance I win this. So I go for a bandit to kill both of these right here. And I'm like, all right, so maybe if we get a massive Mega Knight push, then we could potentially win. But of course, the second I drop the Mega Knight, he drops a Hog Rider in the same lane. So I'm like, well, I gotta defend that, or I'm gonna, lose the game. So he goes for a Mighty Miner just right away because he knows I don't have a reset. I try and DPS it down as quick as possible, which actually works pretty well. But once again, I use the arrows, and the guards just counter every single thing in my deck. I just go for a Miner Wall Breakers, which actually catches him off cycle, but he just hogs the bridge. And, of course, I don't have a good hog counter either. That's going to prevent it from getting a hit. So, yeah, that's pretty much game right there. Definitely could have played better, but, I mean, he's literally one of the best players in the world, too. So I'm just glad that I got to practice and got to play against him. I'm not, like, mad that I lost or anything. I'm just disappointed that I didn't play better. So I just go ahead and spam the bridge. We actually try and pull something off here at the end, but once again, defensive mortar just, kills the wall breakers, and there's nothing I can really do. So yeah, he ends up winning that, but it was still fun to play, and I'm glad that I made the top 16. I'm gonna try it again tomorrow to qualify, but yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.